Hello and a very warm welcome. My name is Parashar and I'm from Millionaire Education Technologies. I'm doing this very special series for all of us to get what financial freedom is all about. Now, before we really have an opportunity to talk about financial freedom and how you can create massive wealth for yourself and your family, we need to get what we're really primed for. In that, consider that you are already imprisoned into an existing reality of what finance is all about. So let's get to it. Now, the first place to start is to begin by looking at what are some of the barriers in you really creating wealth or financial freedom for yourself, for that matter. Now, there's a very famous quote or saying about Las Vegas, which is in the US, which is the heaven for people who want to gamble, is that the house always wins. Yes, they say the house always wins. So what does it really mean for you and I, and how do you put this in the Indian context? So what this means is that no matter how good a player you are, ultimately it's the organization or the individual who owns the gambling house is the one who stands to win. Like he or the organization, his organization has maximum opportunity for profit. Now, why is this even relevant? Why does this even matter to you and I? To get that, let's put it in the Indian context. What I'm saying is, and now by the way, before I say anything, I want you to get whatever it is that I tell you is not gospel, it's not God's truth. I want you to go out there and find out for yourself if what I'm saying makes sense to you, right? And whether whatever it is that I'm saying to you really checks out. The first place to begin is to get that the government or the powerhouses of finance and politics control everything. So if you think media, if you think finance, if you think business, if you think anything is free, if you think you are free, you are highly mistaken. You're not free. Everything is planned, everything is structured, everything is controlled, everything is guarded, and you are guided in a certain direction. How does this really work? Let me give you some background. When the English first came to India, one of the things they noted and realized was that the structure we have for education, which is the Gurukul model really of learning, is extraordinary in that a student enters the Gurukul at a certain age, and for the better part of his learning life, he actually resides in that ashram and learns from the Guru the everyday dealings of life. Now, inside of that, he may learn math, he may learn language, he may learn science, he may learn geography, he may learn history, everything. But there's a certain structure to it. And that learning model really works phenomenally well and has worked really well for thousands of years. So here's what the English decided to do. They figured that, if we are to take away the freedom from these Indians, we need to work on the educational structure first. We need to hit them in a way that hits them really hard. Now, how they did that was by introducing the so-called modern English educational system that we are following until today. Like right now, your kids are actually going to the same school that was designed with a singular mindset of ensuring that people who are prisoners remain so for the rest of their living life. Now, what the school really teaches your child is to operate and think from the mindset of an employee, from somebody who is a prisoner. So you have a system and structure in place, you have a textbook that you learn, or that is taught, supposedly taught, actually monitored or guided by a teacher. Then you take an exam and you proceed from class 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. Now, if you look at the current reality of life the way it is, 2018 research article that was published in the Times of India states that 80% of engineering graduates in India are unemployable. Now this is insane if you think about it. 80% of engineering graduates in India are unemployable, which is to say that when they complete their formal schooling and education or college education, they are not skilled enough for the industry to be able to hire them. And that is exactly the reason why you have these schools that are now available that actually focus on vocational training and make sure that the candidate, when they enter the industry, they can at least be hired. So much for this education that you're spending about 15, 20, 25 lakhs or more. And I'm not even talking about engineering or medicine. The regular school and college education, this is what it is costing you, right? And ultimately at the end of it all, the result you have is zero. So one of the pillars that is created to ensure that you and I stay poor forever is education. Think about it, think hard. Again, don't take anything I say for God's word. It is not gospel. Go figure out your own truth. So education is the first structure that they hit you with to make sure that you stay poor forever. That's number one. Now, let's move on to another one that's equally, if not more, influential in making an impact on the psyche of people in terms of what money is all about, what being rich is all about, what being financially free is all about. That second structure is media. So if you remember any of the movies, the Hindi movies from the 50s or 60s or 70s, there's a common theme running. The rich man is always bad. He's the villain. The poor man, on the other hand, is good. He's a nice soul. Something you need to, be desirable. You want to inculcate being somebody like that. You want to be poor. And you don't want to be rich, because being rich means you're bad. Right? In fact, that is something you see even today in a lot of these movies that you watch, especially the Hindi ones, because I haven't really watched any South Indian films as such. But you will find this recurring theme. Rich, bad. Poor, good. Now, what are you feeding in the mindset of the audience? You are feeding in the mindset of the audience that being poor is a quality. A good quality to have. And being rich is bad. So, and by the way, there's no glory in poverty. Right? As I'm sure you know. There's no glory in poverty. But this is exactly what they're feeding you. Right from the age that you start watching films. That if you're rich, you're bad. If you're poor, you're good. That's the idea. That's the mindset that they're trying to feed you. And then of course, you wonder why so few versus so many in the society are rich or financially free, doing very well for themselves. Because remember, they told you that being poor is good, being rich is bad. So education is another such structure that is designed to keep you and I poor forever. Right? Then comes the third one, which is the banking and financial sector. Now, if you were to put in your money in the bank, in an FD, which is a fixed deposit, the return they give you on that they tell you that they're giving you is 6%. But do you know what is the real return on a fixed deposit in the bank? The real return on your fixed deposit in the bank is minus 3%. Let me repeat that. The real return on a bank fixed deposit is minus 3%. That's crazy, right? To understand that, let me tell you what is WPI and what is CPI. So WPI is wholesale price index and CPI is consumer price index, which basically in layman parlance is nothing but what is the cost of buying something at a wholesale rate and what is the cost of buying something at a retail rate. So if you look at the WPI, for example, it talks about if you were to buy say 1 ton of cashew nuts, you would get them at this price. And if you were to buy a kilo of cashew nuts, which is 1 kg, right, that's CPI, consumer price index. Now imagine for your daily necessities, for your daily needs, if you want to buy cashew nuts, are you going to go to the wholesale market and purchase a ton of cashew nuts? No, you won't, right? For all practical purposes, you'll simply, order them online or go to your local convenience store and purchase them. Now, when you do that, you need to understand that that comes at a certain price. Now, with this price index rather, what is determined is the rate of inflation. Now, if you look at the rate of inflation, it is anywhere between 8.5 to 9%. Is how you calculate it when you're talking in the financial domain or investment or savings for that matter. Now, if you compare your fixed deposit of 6% with the inflation of 9%, what do you get? 9 minus 6, 3. So, that 6% return that they supposedly tell you, the bank tells you, is actually minus 3%. Now, the question is, what do they do? All these financial institutions, banks, your insurance companies, whether life insurance, general insurance, all of these, what are they really doing with your money? Here's what they're doing. They are actually using your money to lend to business houses, to corporates, to large multinationals, and organizations that you see are listed on the chart of the stock market. That is what they do with it. And what is the conversation and mindset being created is? It's gambling. Stock market is tantamount to gambling. I mean, in my native tongue, Gujarati, stock market is known as Satta Bazaar, which is gambling, right? So this is not just a lying, this is outright criminal, right? You are telling me not to do something, but that is exactly what you're doing with my money that I trust you with. Now, the question is, how do you build wealth for yourself? How do you get financially free and ensure that, like a lot of these business owners, like a lot of these business houses who create a large corpus for their family to enjoy the financial freedom for generations to come, how can you do that for yourself and your family? You need to get what are the different asset classes out there. So, what is an asset class? Anything that allows you to invest for a certain return in a certain period of time is an asset class. So, gold is an asset class. Property or real estate is an asset class. Mutual fund is an asset class, but effectively ultimately invest your money in the stock market. But if you don't have the risk appetite, you could consider investing in mutual funds as well. Now, what you need to realize is you need to learn how to invest systematically in the stock market. If you look at 30 years, right, the only place that beats inflation by a long margin is the stock market. That's right. Now, we have an opportunity for you to learn, and by the way, you are free to learn from wherever it is that you want to. I'm not saying you learn it with us. You have an opportunity to learn about the stock market today like never before, with all of these courses and options available that will allow you to actually be an intelligent investor. Learn how to invest in the stock market, make money for yourself, create wealth that is built to last, not just today, not just tomorrow, for generations to come. The only purpose of having this conversation with you really is not just to talk to you about our offerings, but actually to get you thinking from the perspective of someone who is an intelligent investor, who thinks not just of today, of a decade, 2, 3, but 5 ahead, right? That's the whole point. All of the information that I want to share with you is available in the description below. Once again, this is Parashar for Millionaire Education Technologies. I truly wish, hope and pray that this conversation makes a difference with you. You start thinking intelligently from a very different perspective that you've already been primed into, imprisoned into, and create massive financial wealth for yourself and your family. You take care. Bye-bye.